Hi, my name's Todd Williams. I've got a career in economics and finance, also a conservationist, and I've just been getting really frustrated with people talking about population, like Elon Musk saying there's going to be a population collapse, wanting to go and live on Mars. Economists all talking about population growth, and really global warming, loss of species, all these sorts of things is tied back to global. It's tied back to population. So I'm doing this for my children, I guess, and for posterity. Don't expect to be as generous as some people on this topic, but interested to put it out there and see what you think. And so you can click subscribe at the end if you like it, and that'll tell me if I should do more. Okay. So firstly, I just wanted to really give some quick context about how lucky we all are. If you think about the universe and just picture it in your mind out there, how close we are to the sun and how far away we are from the sun. Like if all of the trillions of planets are out there, if we were just a little bit closer to the sun, we'd all burn to death. A bit further away and we'd all freeze to death. So it's kind of like winning Tats Lotto about 1.2 trillion times in a row. If you can even begin to comprehend that, it means that we're all just super, super lucky. Doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, we're all really lucky to begin with. Keep that in mind as we move through. I said at the start that I'm not going to be terribly kind with this, and when you look at the planet, we're not a kind species. As lucky as we are, I've just said, we are one of the most destructive species on the planet. We're treating this place like a garbage tip. We burn the planet down, we kill other species, we waste, we don't use things as much as we should. So really, we kind of deserve everything that we get, but we need to start treating the planet a hell of a lot better than we are. Just reflect on a few of these pictures here. These are actually pretty mild compared to some of the ones out there, but I wanted to just, I guess, shock you all into thinking that we need to do a better job. So let's just talk about what the big issue is here. So often when I talk to people about these sorts of issues, they don't get context of time. So you got to quickly have just to think about that the planet's been around for about 4,500 million years, and that's given us the chance and all the other species on the planet to evolve to the highly evolved level that we are. And that's not just us, that's every other species on the planet. Um, what that means is the rate of change that we're going through at the moment, we're not giving other species and the planet in general enough time to react to the impact that we're having on it. So let's have a look at what population growth has been doing. So if we think that the planet's been around for 4,500 million years, really in the last 2,000 years, and particularly the last 200 since the Industrial Revolution, we've gone from a population of 190 million people to 8 billion, and we're going to be at 10 billion people by 2050 in the next 20 or 30 years. That is just unbelievable. And really, something people don't understand is just that massive, massive rate of change, the influence that the population of humans has had on the rest of the planet in such a short period of time without everything else being able to react. So what happens when you have such a large population growth? The other thing to consider here as well as the population growing at such a fast rate is actually medicine has helped prolong our life. So we've had the advent of antibiotics, AIDS, we thought everyone was going to die in AIDS during the 80s, but now it's effectively a manageable disease. Rates of managing cancer. So we're living a lot longer than we used to. Couple that with population growth and effectively the demands and the influence that we have on the environment is much, much greater than it typically would have been, that we need to understand that as well. So what does this mean? Put it together, fast rate of growth of population, human population, not enough time for other species to react. put the two together, and basically, as we have been exploding in the number of people, but also the consumption that we have as our economic wealth has grown, we've been pushing out other species across the planet, killing them at a rate that has been unprecedented. It's effectively like a meteor hitting a planet. But of course, a relatively shorter period of time than that. That's instantaneous. But in the greater scheme of things, over 4,500 million years, what we're doing in 200 to 300 year time period is extremely, extremely quick. And people don't seem to get that. Population was talked about in the 70s. Everyone said, "Oh, it hasn't happened in 30 or 50 years." Well, it's not a great argument, because 30 or 50 years is not a very long period of time at all. So as I mentioned, my background, I guess, is in economics, financial markets, and all that I hear about is GDP growth, working in businesses, sales growth. This is all a measure of consumption. We just want to consume more. Every company wants us to consume more. What that means is we're just consuming more resources. We're pushing out other species. We're digging up the planet. We're digging up coal, iron ore, lithium, even for electric vehicles. We're clearing forest, and we're killing off other species, and all in the name of growth. Consumption-based growth. It assumes, and anyone that's done economic theory assumes, an unlimited supply of resources. Well, it's unrealistic. We live on a finite planet. This planet we can't just go and grab resources off the next closest planet to us and bring them over here. It doesn't work that way. We've got to move away from this model of thinking that we can just perpetually grow and increase production. And I'm sorry, but I've really got to touch on religion. Everyone sort of, their eyes glaze over, but you can't talk about population and population growth and the impact of it without talking about religion. And very briefly, religion has been around for thousands of years. It's when we used to think that the earth was flat. We didn't understand the theory of evolution. And it's when wars were fought through attrition. So the more people you had in your religion, the better, because then you could go and fight someone else. It didn't matter if you lost half of them, but as long as you won the war, everything was okay. It was kind of like World War One. It was just a war of attrition. That's how religion was founded. And most religion, because of that, has reproduction, multiple children, as the basis of it. And we've got to move away from this. We've got to challenge this aspect of religion, which is now redundant. We've got to start to embrace things like contraception, having a sustainable number of people within the family. So what's the solution? Well, first of all, we've got to recognize that we're on this precious planet. I mean, that first one, winning Tats Lotto a trillion times. What the hell? I mean, we're all so lucky. Secondly, we've got to recognize population is the most urgent issue. Forget about global warming, forget about a lot of these other things. We've got to talk about population. We've got to educate women globally. They should have the right to choose, particularly in places like Africa, the Middle East, parts of Asia and India, where they're forced basically culturally to have multiple children. We've got to have a population target for every country. Particularly the UN needs to support this. So you can't have immigration unless the country that people are coming from have an immigration target. Singapore is the only country in the world that has a target, because they know that they can't have more than 6 million people. We've got to endorse family planning by all religious groups, as I mentioned, and we've got to move to an economic model that doesn't measure just on GDP, on growth through consumption. And assign a value to the environment. We should have an economic or environmental balance sheet and profit and loss that measures that cost. And if we do this, we address population, and we can forget about global warming. That problem will take care of itself. So what happens if we don't do anything? I guess that's the other question. Well, if we don't do anything, as I said, I worked in financial markets, and I can tell you, A stock that gets too high, or a currency, or anything else, you have irrational exuberance, and there is a crash. Guarantee it. It'll happen in the next 50 to 100 years, which is relatively soon. People that remember starting in Ethiopia and things like that, that will happen on a much, much grander scale. It's going to be horrendous for people, and something that we need to avoid. Or it will be forced upon us. We'll have this loss of species. We'll lose our quality of life. Even now you can't go and see the animals that you used to. If you go fishing, you can't catch the fish that you used to. We're going to have this just gradual boiling frog in a pot of degradation of our life and our quality of life, not just measured through material things. And you think about COVID. Everyone talked about COVID, what a terrible thing that was. Well, you know what? It was actually the best thing for the planet. During that period, we moved away from our economic model of continued growth, and the planet had time to heal. It's a really, really important signal to us, and we shouldn't miss the opportunity of recognizing that and getting on board and signing up. So there's some of the things that we can do. Thanks for listening to me. If you like it, please subscribe to the podcast so I know that this has resonated with some people, and I can move forward and maybe do some more. Thank you.